Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Welcome today to the review of another watch by Sea-Gull, or as I now like to call them, Sea-Gull. In fact, I now find myself referring to the birds by the same moniker. Darling, look at those charming Sea-Gulls fighting over the carcass of a dead pigeon. The reason why I do this is to differentiate the watches by the brand from the watches we know as the Sea-Gull 1963, which contains a Sea-Gull movement, but isn't actually made by Sea-Gull. Okay, enough of that. I like Sea-Gull watches. They're a bit of a rarity in that they are a Chinese brand that is proud to be a Chinese brand, and one that does not simply pillage the catalogues of the Swiss and the Japanese brands for inspiration. They do occasionally look west, I'll admit, and their desire for originality can have some mixed results, shall we say, but when they get it right, they get it right. I love the 51 reissue, and I'm a big fan of today's watch, what I'm calling the BiDisc. The circular patterns on the dial are inspired by ancient Chinese jade discs, the first of which were found over 5,000 years ago. They symbolise the concentration of power in the hands of a few, and were often buried with powerful and wealthy Chinese, representing their transition to a better place. I actually included this one sight unseen in my top 10 sale list back in March this year, and then Sea-Gull got in touch asking me if I'd like to review any of their watches, and I was like, yeah, this one please. As such, this video is sponsored by the Sea-Gull official store on AliExpress. They sent me this watch for free, I do not have to send it back. In addition, they have locked in the lowest price I've seen on this one, $150 until the end of the month via a link in the description. Let's flip the camera and have a look at it. So 3 different colour variants of this one are available from the Sea-Gull official store. All the same price, all $149.99, locked in until the end of this month being July 2022. There's one with a grey feature disc, if you will, one with a blue feature disc. I went for the one with the green feature disc. Not only did I prefer that colour, but it also makes sense given the whole historical connection to those BiDiscs. And here we are, I even managed to find a little bit of jade in amongst my wife's jewellery collection. The design begins to make more sense when you look at it in context, especially with that green colour on the dial. Check me, I've gone all watch finder with bits and pieces on my wooden surface today. Next thing you know, I'll just be a pair of talking hands, won't I? There'll be a bit more of this macro footage coming up over the course of the review. Sea-Gull watches are always nicely packaged, regardless of model chosen or price paid. That kind of blue inner, blue outer, and inside a large and substantial instruction manual, which of course I haven't read. I think it covers pretty much all of the models, and beyond that, one tag and one watch. I suspect it's not going to be a particularly long video today. It is a pretty simple watch, but it is a watch that I think is both simple and pretty. Nice set of dimensions, 39mm in diameter, bang on 1 centimetre, 10mm thick. Now 48mm lug to lug, which is perhaps longer than you would have expected given the 39mm diameter, 20mm lug width, and on this supplied leather strap, which is a good one, I will show you it shortly in more detail, it weighs in at 56 grams. 316L stainless steel 3-piece case, push-pull crown, 50 meters of water resistance, and a flat sapphire crystal with no anti-reflective coating. Yeah, very, very simple case finish, high polish throughout, no fancy chamfers, no fancy anything really on this one. Very, very simple 3-piece with that fixed high polish bezel and a screw-on case back, which I will show you shortly. Now, I did say 48 was quite long. It does have kind of vintage style long lugs, maybe a slightly retro style overall today means they can justify having those slightly longer lugs, and you can see the Sea-Gull S on the push-pull crown there. The strap is nice, very, very soft and comfortable straight out of the box. I'm kind of between 2 holes. I've mostly been wearing it loose, but occasionally wearing it tight. I think that pale brown fawn colour goes with the rather delicate pastel green they've chosen. It's perhaps not as pronounced as in some of their press shots, and there's that little touch of burnt orange there. On the small second hand, adding another element, Sea-Gull printing, and a nice piece of high polished Sea-Gull branded hardware on the buckle and the tang. Let's have a quick look at the back of the watch before we get into the front of the watch. Screw-on stainless steel display case back showing off the movement there, high polish around the outer edge, 50 meters of water resistance, stainless steel, and the model number, which is 819.93.6101. No wonder I've referred to it as the BiDisc. And behind that display case is a Sea-Gull in-house movement. Don't forget, Sea-Gull are one of the world's largest manufacturers of movements. They make 300 movements each year. That is an ST17. Now the ST17 comes in various forms. This small second one I think is a 20 joule. It's a 3 Hz, so 21,600 vibrations per hour. It manually winds, 40-hour power reserve, but it doesn't hack. It's an older movement. It's based on their ST16, which is about 20 years old. Perhaps it's high time Sea-Gull updated this one just as Miyota did with their 8000 series and added hacking. It is 2022 after all. Plenty of decoration on the movement itself and on the rotor, but they haven't signed the rotor. Again, perhaps that's something they could think about doing in the future. It certainly would make this one more visually appealing from the back. But it's not really how attractive a watch is from the back, is it? It's how attractive a watch is from the front, and I really like the looks of this one. Maybe a little touch of Bauhaus in here, but with that ancient Chinese cultural reference, which I do personally appreciate. I like that feature color disc. This one is all about the circles, isn't it? Obviously, the first circle is the case everything is contained within. Then you have that feature circle. I'm glad I chose the green. That one has the Arabics there. 1 round to 12, though missing 6 because of the small second. The second circle is that small second, slightly recessed. They've chosen not to put too many markers on that one, just very simple batons at the 5s, Sea-Gull and automatic branding above the pinion. In that inner circle framed by the feature disc, and then if you move beyond the feature disc you have a 4th circle. Now actually that is bowed, it is convex, it bowls out and then back in again at the very edge. Slender batons on the hours and very slender baton minute markers in between. So a circle in a circle in a circle in a circle in a circle then today, if you see what I mean. And I'm not being facetious when I say it's nice to see China made on the dial of a watch. Sea-Gull, as discussed, are a Chinese brand that is proud to be a Chinese brand. And if I zoom right in, as far as my macro lens will go, you can see there is just a slight granular texture to that silver. It's certainly not sunburst. There's no effect when you take this one and move it around in natural light. Overall, I think it's a nice effect. Very, very slim and slender needle hands on this one. High polished silver hour and minute hand, and that little burnt orange small second hand. On wrist, I think it looks pretty good. It's all dial, this one. I think 39mm making it slightly smaller than 40 is therefore a good decision, but keeping the lugs relatively long at 48 is also a good decision. It makes it look a bit more substantial. Certainly doesn't feel particularly substantial though. Very light at only 56 grams, but a nice comfortable strap. Oddly enough, with a strap, I'm kind of between these two holes. This is a touch loose for me. That one is a touch tight for me. And indeed, here are another couple of wrist shots taken outside, one slightly loose and the second one slightly tight. I like the pastel colours, that little touch of kind of burnt orange on the small second hand, and the champagne silver with that slight granular texture, I think goes nicely with the brown strap. You would have no problem swapping this one out for something else on 20mm lugs, but it would have to be a 2020 if you wanted to swap over Sea-Gull's nice matching hardware. So definitely a watch that I personally like, and definitely a watch that I have personally been wearing and will continue to wear. But that's not to say this is not going to be a complaint-free video. What are my moans and niggles today with this one? Well, let's have another look at that movement, shall we? But I'm not sure if I actually want to have a look at the movement. It does look a little bit basic. I appreciate the decoration, but it's not particularly flash. I wonder whether a closed caseback might have been more appropriate if they were only going to slap an ST17 in it. Talking of which, why are they only slapping an ST17 in this one for $150? They produce much better movements than this, including the ST2130, which is an ETA 2824 clone. Why don't we get that for $150? A non-hacking movement in 2022 is a little bit last century, unfortunately. And then there's the price. $150 on sale for these, I think, is reasonable. Sapphire crystal, in-house automatic, and it's a really attractive looking watch. Original, and I appreciate the design aesthetic to it. I appreciate what they're trying to achieve here with the reference to those BiDiscs. But $150 buys you your pick of the Orient Bambino range. Another watch with an in-house automatic movement that is very, very attractive. Admittedly only mineral crystal, but it is a beautifully domed piece of mineral crystal, applied indices, and there are no shortage of different variants of this one, all for less than $150. It's not the first time I've made this same comment about Sea-Gull watches. You are paying a premium for them. They don't necessarily justify materially. They're not an AliExpress brand per se, having been around since the 1950s. But if you're going to sell on AliExpress, then that comes with a pricing expectation that you will offer some form of bargain. And I don't think Sea-Gulls are necessarily bargains. You are paying a little bit more for that name. So it comes down to you. Do you value the Sea-Gull name? Do you value what they are trying to do with this model? Do you value the ancient Chinese references and the addition of comfortable strap and sapphire crystal? Or are you tempted by a Bambino or something a little bit more mainstream from one of the Japanese manufacturers instead? So there you have it. I admit, not for everyone, but if you are into this watch, it makes an interesting left field alternative to the likes of the Orient Bambino and more mainstream offerings from Seiko and Citizen. If you are into Sea-Gull, why not watch my review of the 51 reissue or the fake or not fake Sea-Gull 1963, which started the whole hyphen thing off. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again in a future video.